In today's news, BVI to receive economic boost through interjections into the construction industry.
Local contractors to receive more opportunities under the new Emergency Procurement Policy, and we have a new Deputy Premier in town. All that and so much more when 284 News returns.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
A beautiful BVI welcome to all of our viewers. It is Monday, August 10th, 2020, and we're so thrilled to be joining you for another edition of 284 News. My name is Javon Wilson.
And of course, I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes. A beautiful, beautiful evening here in the British Virgin Islands. But Javon, as you know, we have a lot to speak about in this edition. So let's jump right into it.
Well, just before we do that and dissect the news, we want to celebrate one of our local artists. Now, his name is NJAR. I mean, everyone knows him. He's a seasoned artist, definitely a voice of reason in the community, a father, an entrepreneur. But today, being celebrated in a very different light. I think he has managed to really put into words via a song what's going on with our economy, and that we have to continue to look to a bigger force. And this one is called If Ja. So let's just go to a quick clip of his newest song, If Ja.
The biggest!
If Ja is standing by my side, then tell me why should I be afraid? Yeah, yeah. If Ja is standing by my side, then tell me why should I be afraid? Yeah. This is not an easy road. Sometimes we feel like giving up, who feels it knows. Pass on to finer things for finer things. Cause when you dig deep, you gon' find some things. 25 to life, you live fast. I build my thing. What's the point in 50 mil when your soul ain't free? You know you still slaving still, just in a different field. 10 years, I'm still here, my vibe's real. Hustle or be hustle, that's how I feel. Stop living off your timeline, them lights ain't real. I don't gotta post. I can post up anywhere and speak. I got the reach. Sit back and watch me teach. I don't move things, but I got the influence to move things. Biggest. See, I've been watching you checkers. This chest beat. Every time I move, they been moved. You can't check me. Rappers can't stress me. It's standing by my side. Then tell me why should I be afraid? Yeah. If Ja is standing by my side.
It's quite an incredible track. Of course, you can follow him on social media if you want to hear the rest of it, but it's available for streaming and download on all the various platforms. So I just want to say congratulations, Kyla, to this guy, because I mean, this song again really speaks to having faith, especially in these perilous times.
We definitely need that right now, and definitely a great note to start the newscast on. As we jump right into it, the Premier of the Virgin Islands and Minister of Finance, Honorable Andrew A. Foy, in a live press conference held last evening, outlined the government's plans to boost the Virgin Islands economy through the construction industry. Now, a significant project that will contribute to the government's plans is the Eastern Longlook Sewage Project. As we know, the recommencement of the sewage project was first announced by the 7th District Representative Honorable Natalia Whitley at a community meeting held earlier last month. Well, the Premier of the Virgin Islands further revealed in last night's address that through the diligent work of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission Board and the BVI Ports Authority, the government has been able to recommence this long overdue Eastern Long Lake sewage project. Now, Javon, just last month, we on the newscast spoke about the recommencement of this project. As you know, this project is something that have been in the planning stages for quite some time now, and it was to be commenced under multiple administrations, but now we see where this project will finally commence and be used to interject some funds into our economy. Well, viewers, the Premier went on to announce an extensive list of construction opportunities in which the government will undertake in the upcoming season. Now, these projects include the repairs to the Honorable Ralph D. O'Neill Administration Complex here in Tortola, repairs to the John E. George Administration Building in North Sound, Virgin Gorda, repairs to the Flax Administration Building and the Vanderpool Administration Building in the Valley, Virgin Gorda, the paving of public roads in Anegada and Josephine Dyke, repairs to the Anegada Fire Station, repairs to the Brigada Flax Education Center, and so many more projects. Now, Javon, as we really examine this list of projects to commence in these upcoming months, these are all public projects, and some are projects that have and has been mentioned before as recovery and development projects to be taken on by the Recovery and Development Agency, which we know as RDA, which is responsible for the recovery of the territory after, the aftermaths of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Well, therefore, some of these projects were planned even before the COVID-19 era. Premier Foy really encourages local contractors to prepare themselves and their workers immediately, as he sees this as an opportunity for many contractors here in the BVI amidst the COVID-19 era. Premier Foy said that these projects and these funds will serve as a booster shot into the economy.
All right, and following that 1 week lead up, as we can all remember, Kyla, when the flyer dropped, I think the territory stood in anticipation of what was going to be rolled out come Sunday. Last evening, of course, coined an economic boost for the Virgin Islands. The statement, of course, was presented with a plan on the premise that rebooting our construction industry will generate and allow monies to recirculate within the economy. Now, the Premier of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Andrew Foy, very specifically said, and I quote, "By doing this, we will be allowing the monies to stay in the territory and circulate numerous times to positively contribute to the national flow of income." End of quote. Now, Kyla, a few things to go wrong as we examine some of the opinions and questions circulating following the announcement last evening, because we know it's been quite a conversation on the ground. Firstly, the Premier mentioned this as an exclusive opportunity for locals, but have we stopped to examine the fact that this industry is populated primarily by expatriates or the expatriate community? Also, back in 2018, following the ravages of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, like you mentioned, the Department of Labor back then had expressed a dire need for skilled workers, and we want to examine the word skilled in this context, because it's going to continue to come up within our reporting in the next few weeks. There was a dire need for skilled workers in the construction industry. Now, due to the high demand, government at that time made calls for local persons to enroll in a construction class that was being offered at HLSCC. From that point to now, can we say that a high number of locals would have taken interest in those classes? We're not sure about that. Have the ratios changed substantially since that, as it relates to how many locals would have taken up construction as a viable option? All of that still seems a bit unclear. But amidst all that, what I would call a lack of clarity, the fact remains that this industry requires skill, a skill based on what we've seen in the past that had to be imported. And this is not to say that the skill isn't necessarily teachable, but we also have to acknowledge two very important things, Kyla. First of all, there has been a lack of interest with locals pursuing this industry. And secondly, the fact that even if we were to train locals, that would require time for us to, for those persons to get over the learning curve. Our construction company company owners, are the construction company owners willing to wait? Will this put their current projects on pause? And additionally, how do we plan to address the construction expatriate workers who currently reside in the territory, who currently live in the territory? And the question begs to be asked, will they too be required to leave the island once these jobs are then shifted to locals? I'd like to add as well, earlier this year, Minister of Labor Honorable Vincent Whitley would have announced that there will be an amnesty for construction workers to become regularized under the Skilled Workers Amnesty Program, also known as SWAP. Now, Kyla, this was for persons who were working in the territory with employees not listed on their work permits, and we can all recall a surge influx of persons working within that industry post-Irma. So he was basically asking that those persons contact the Labor Department to address regularizing their current work permit status. Now, without a doubt, we can agree that the minister at that time understood that the construction industry is carried on the efforts primarily of the expatriate community and made efforts to regularize. So again, the question begs to be asked, what happens to them? And Kyla, I think these are the conversations that we need to be having, especially preceding decisions that affect such a wide portion of the community.
I do agree. I think when the Premier delivered this speech, he spoke a lot about the money circulating within the BVI economy. And as you said, these are questions that are circulating as of last evening, because as we know, and which is true, that most skilled workers may be expatriates. And of
within
course,
that industry specifically.
In that industry specifically. And even a few months ago, there were a lot of conversation surrounding money leaving the BVI as expats support family and sending money back home. So
and we're definitely going to dissect that a bit more later on in the newscast.
Most definitely. So Jamal, now we see where the government intends. Yes, he spoke about construction, but the Premier also spoke about their intentions to boost various sectors in the economy through a phased approach. Now, Premier Foy said, and I quote, "Your government is feverishly working towards fine-tuning and finalizing details to present to you, the people, in short order on various sectors of the economy," end quote. He continued, and I quote, "Your government intends to inform you about the plans and efforts to revitalize all sectors of the economy." This is to say, we will be speaking about different sectors of the economy in a phased approach. So, Jamon, although we're speaking a lot about construction, I think the persons and people in the BVI are eagerly waiting to see injections into other sectors and seeing what that really looks like for the economy.
I completely agree with you, and that perfectly echoes the sentiment of another viewer who said, and I quote, "Construction is not a pillar of the BVI's economy. It's a subsector, and we have to take a realistic look at whether it can drive the economy." End of quote. And Kyla, just to recap a little bit as we go back down memory lane, we can all recall this very narrative post-Irma. You know, construction was being pushed as a third economic pillar within the BVI,
Yes.
and we can safely and accurately say that it worked then, because at that point, we were in a dire need to rebuild, and insurance companies, of course, were able to carry the cost of that process. But fast forward to today, and while some persons, yes, are still rebuilding, it's not to a state where there's enough jobs to sustain a majority of persons unemployed. And again, we really have to look at if this can sustain our economy. And I think that's a very valid question in this time.
I do agree. And as you said, most of these jobs, is construction a viable industry to carry this, as we know we are in graduation season, and with 300 being quoted, but I'm sure over 300 students graduating. These are all questions that persons really want to know. But viewers, you'll have to stick with us for more content on this. Still ahead, Cabinet approves a new emergency procurement policy, which will assist local contractors in securing local contracts. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, as we know, a number of local contractors have found it difficult to secure contracts for major projects right here in the BVI. Local contractors on many occasions have faced challenges that seem to deprive them of the opportunity to even be considered for projects despite their capabilities to deliver quality work. During this live press conference held yesterday, Premier of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Andrew Ford, revealed that Cabinet approved an emergency procurement regime, which will assist the government to overcome obstacles that will then allow them to engage local contractors while adhering to international standards. Premier Foy said, and I quote, "Your government has been working over the past few weeks to develop a procurement regimen that would allow greater participation by local contractors and service providers, while at the same time adhering to principles of international best practices and assuring quality, value for money, transparency, and accountability." End quote. The emergency procurement policy was designed by the Ministry of Finance and partnering agencies. This emergency policy was specifically approved for times of emergencies, such as natural disasters, catastrophic events, and pandemics. Now, since the completion of this policy, the government has entered into discussions with international lending agencies. The government will need approval, of course, to change conditions attached to these fundings to allow local qualified construction persons to benefit from these opportunities. Premier Foy said, and I quote, "By doing this, we would be allowing the monies to stay in the territory and circulate numerous times to positively contribute to the national flow of income." One important feature of the new emergency procurement policy is that it will allow for, in some cases, the subdivision of larger projects into smaller packages. Premier Foy encourages contractors, as we said before, to get prepared with all their necessary paperwork, because all of the steps are all the steps are finished, the government will be ready to commence all these projects and will be forging full speed ahead. Premier Foy also said, and I quote, "So our contractors should begin preparing themselves and their workers immediately. Get yourselves ready, especially with all your needed paperwork, because once all the legal steps are finished with this new policy, we want to hit the ground running and with some momentum." The Premier expressed optimism and expressed that he believes that this process will open many doors of opportunity for all our contractors here in the BVI.
Definitely, Kyla. This is definitely a good look for local contractors, because we were just recently even having conversation about opportunities afforded to local while companies from outside are afforded those opportunities at the expense of local companies, but very specific to the construction industry today. So definitely good news. But Kyla, upon examination of the announcement just last night, persons have also said this is basically a litany of what the public projects are going to look like, and have questioned if this government's general responsibility to ensure that locals have preference in securing the contracts, generally that's what a government is supposed to do. We also have to look at the fact that based on what was announced last night, this is not new business.
Right.
This is definitely not new business. A lot of these projects, like you said, were already announced and already secured even prior to this COVID-19 pandemic. So then how does it work as a stimulus or some form of bailout in a time where we're looking forward to strict revenue being generated in the British Virgin Islands? Additionally, just coming back to the point that we touched on earlier, Premier Foy also said last night that these newfound opportunities for locals will help the money to circulate locally. Now, many of these persons have questioned that possibility because it still remains a fact that the construction industry is currently primarily populated by the expatriate community, who, with a lack of opportunity to invest, will continue to send their monies abroad, even with that 7% fee now in place.
Yeah.
So then how then will the money circulate locally and boost the economy if essentially these monies are being sent out? And Kyla, I think these are the conversations that must precede the decisions we're making. We must be able to examine how feasible the decisions are for persons sitting on both sides of the coin. And all that it boils down to, in my humblest opinion, is a public dialogue that we must be willing to have.
I completely agree. I think a lot of questions came out of last evening's address. Persons are asking, people are dissecting what was being said and saying, hey, how will this really work? We do want it to work, but we also want to know what is the way forward and how will this truly benefit the people of the Virgin Islands, everyone included, the BVI economy just in general. But of course, this is a phased approach, and we would definitely love to see more coming out of this stimulus, of the other sectors that will be stimulated during this approach.
All right, we're still ahead to it. For me, I was actually able to catch up with the new Deputy Premier, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Whitley. He's just really excited to tell us all about his new role. So stick with us. More coming after this commercial break.
Hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes,
Good
Sonny.
morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must stop cut front of people.
It's okay. I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, following a 17-month rotational process, the Minister for Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fisheries and Agriculture, Dr. the Honorable Natalia D. Whitley, was on Friday appointed the new Deputy Premier of the Virgin Islands for the duration of government's term in office. Now, in making the announcements, Premier Foy said that his government believes that the greatest wealth and strength of any nation is in its youth. The future of the nation, he added, lies in the hands of the prosperity, and the quality of its youth determines the kind of future the nation will have. He said, quote, "Therefore, if we want to ensure a bright future for our country, we need to strengthen and empower our youths." He also added, "The youth of any nation and society are its potential energy. These are the ones who are the pride of the nation. It is the youth that brings the laurels of the country." End of quote. That, of course, was at the ceremony, the formal ceremony held at the Stickit last Friday. But viewers, we were able to catch up with Dr. the Honorable Natalia Whitley himself, who was so happy to express his sentiments. Listening.
I'm grateful for the appointment as Deputy Premier. I want to thank the Premier, Honorable Andrew Foy, for his confidence in me. I also want to thank all my colleagues for all of their support. I particularly want to say thank you to those other ministers who served as deputy premier. They all did an excellent job, and I will have to rely on each of them for their advice, their encouragement, and their support, and as we work together as a team to make the Virgin Islands a better place. It is a responsibility I take seriously. It is not necessarily about accolades or titles. It's about being positioned to be able to help the people of the Virgin Islands as much as possible. And it's an investment in the future. And I appreciate the way that the Premier has built capacity through this 3-month rotation and the interest he's taken in me as a young person and other young members of the party. So I'm truly grateful for the appointment, and with God's help, I'll do my best.
That was the Honorable Dr. Natalia Whitley, of course, newly appointed as Deputy Premier of the Virgin Islands. Now, Carl, I have to say, with all these previous portfolios, we think about education, culture, agriculture, fisheries, sports, youth affairs, and now equally serving as a deputy premier and, mind you, the representative for the 7th district. So definitely quite a number of responsibilities under his political umbrella, but I think very fitting. Like the premier referred to as his youth. I do see Honorable Natalia Whitley as someone who is very teachable, also is very knowledgeable on the political affairs of the British Virgin Islands, serving somewhat as a historian, as much as he's a bit younger than the historians we know, and prior to even coming into politics, a voice of reason within the community. And I think he is definitely loved and respected for that. So we want to wish him all the best within this new capacity as Deputy Premier.
I do agree. I love the speech that Premier Foy gave about its youth and giving the youths a chance at just governing their country. As you said, Honorable Wheatley has quite a portfolio, as well as being a representative, as well as now being the new Deputy Premier. But I think we always say we must give our youths a chance, and I think that Honorable Wheatley will do an amazing job. We definitely need to cheer him on as he fills these big shoes. So we definitely want to congratulate him, and yeah, most definitely. But as we move on to our last story in this newscast, updates over in the USVI. Now, between Friday and Saturday, the USVI's Department of Health reported 25 new cases of the COVID-19 virus, 6 on Friday and 19 on Saturday. The department reported 0 new cases on Sunday, but that's a result of a low number of tests being taken on that day, which was only 5, moving the total of number of persons tested from 10,900 to 10,905 between Saturday and Sunday. The Friday report of 6 cases saw 1 in St. Croix and 5 on St. Thomas. And on Saturday, out of those 19 cases which were reported, 18 was on St. Thomas and 1 on St. John. There were no reported cases on St. Croix on Saturday. Now, St. Thomas saw 7 cases of community spread over this weekend, while 12 cases were under investigation, meaning that the Department of Health was still attempting to determine the means through which the virus had spread from one person to another. Now, Governor Bryant has spoken about a strategy shift that would keep the USVI open while managing the number of COVID-19 cases through successful hospitalization and release of patients. Governor Bryant said, and I quote, "At the end of the day, Albert Bryant himself makes the decision on whether we're going to open or close, not anyone else, one man, and think we've done a great job of being able to keep it open and keep people healthy. Yes, we have a lot of cases, but the problem isn't getting the cases, the problem is dying. So we have the facilities and continue to grow our facilities in terms of treating people and making sure that they come out alive. Now, Javon, of course, there's more to this story, and persons could check that out on our website, but we definitely see a different approach over in the USVI compared to the BVI. So definitely we'll be keeping an eye on that and reporting to our viewers. But viewers, guess what? This is it for today's news roundup. It's been a great newscast. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. And tomorrow we'll be here again at the same time, 6 p.m.
Yes.
for more 284 News. So be sure to join us.